Hey everyone, and welcome back to Pros and Cons. I'm Cassie, your friendly neighborhood illusionist.
And I'm Sam, your unfriendly neighborhood assistant. I know we've been gone for a bit. I did release a video explaining that we're going through some channel changes, and that I will put in the description below. And this channel change is a big one. We've been switching from lots of cosplay and a little literature to lots of literature and a little cosplay.
Today's episode is part one of Aaron Morgenstern's book. Man, I cannot say that name today. The Night Circus.
Aaron Morgenstern.
No, Morgenstern.
Morgenstern.
It's a book that's really important to both Sam and I. It's kind of the book that started our friendship a little bit.
I mean, it's something that,
it's
nudged it along. Yeah, it definitely. Did this come in, a year? Because I remember it was when we were both in high school. I saw it at Books A Million, and I went, gee, that book looks neat! And
As you do with most books, if you're me.
Or anybody that likes reading.
Yeah, but you've seen my bookshelf.
I've walked into a bookstore with you, and it's frankly scary. I'm not gonna lie. You walk in, you walk out with a small pile, and I go, Cassie, but your shelf, and you go, I need more books, Sam, and I go, okay.
Yeah, that's about right. But yeah, I think it was probably my junior year, your sophomore year, or right at the beginning of my senior year,
Yeah.
Oh, wait. You're 2 years younger than me. Goddamn.
Yep. So it was your senior year, my sophomore year.
There we go.
It was the spring semester.
It was a long time
ago. It was
ago.
a long time
I don't
ago.
even remember.
We're old.
Yeah.
But anyway, and I was like, hey, this book is neat. Cassie, read this book. And Cassie went, okay.
And I did, because if people give me books to read, I will read them. If people are just like, hey, you should read this book, and then don't physically give me the book, I will never read it. It's a problem.
Yeah, it just depends on, how well you explain the plot to me, personally, and how easily accessible I can grab said book, personally.
If it's not physically available to me at the moment, I will just go to my bookshelf and go, ooh, I haven't read this one yet, and pick it up. Or go, ooh, I've read this one 5 times, but I want to read it again.
That is true. I've watched her do it so many times.
Yes. But, so we're going to talk about the Night Circus.
Yeah.
I love this book.
It's so good.
It's so good. There are obviously a few flaws, but not so many that it makes it anywhere unlikable. I've read a few reviews online that I went, really? Really? You're going to complain about that?
I usually don't read reviews of things that I like, because then I'll get really sad and defensive.
I'm too tired to be defensive.
I'm too much of a mess to not be.
That's true.
But, yeah, this book. Cassie, would you like to explain the plot?
I can explain part of it. I will probably be a little jumbled, but I can explain part of it.
All right.
It takes place in the 20th century, so the 1900s. It spans several decades.
30 years.
Yeah, I was like 30
roughly 30
yeah,
years.
Roughly 30 years. And it spans from the beginning of the Night Circus to the quotation marks end quotation marks of the Night Circus. The book. No spoilers.
Yeah, part 2 is not going to be spoiler free. I'm just going to put that out there. This is just generalized, but
we're just going to talk about the book. We're going to give you guys an idea of what the book's about. We're going to talk about who we think would most like to read this type of book, what kind of genre it is, so on and so forth. This book all circles around the Night Circus, which is a circus that is only open at night. It opens at the time of nightfall, and it closes at the time of sunup, which is an awesome concept.
Who doesn't want to party?
Who doesn't want to just stay up all night and go to a circus?
I want to go. So, I want this to be a real thing in the worst way possible.
Yeah. Rereading this book made me remember how much I loved this book the first time I read it. and how much I really wished that this was a real thing. And sometimes how I really wished I would have grown up in the 1900s. I wouldn't have wanted to, but like...
Same.
I kind of wanted to just in that world.
Vaguely.
But yeah, so it centers around this circus, but it also centers around quite a few of the characters in several different timelines. Mostly two, but the book does flip back and forth between times fairly fluidly.
It doesn't do that until about roughly halfway through.
Daily.
So
Halfway through.
I will name character names. The two central figures of this book are Marco Alistair?
Yes.
Marco Alistair and...
Celia Bowen.
Celia Bowen.
My girl.
What a babe. And then three younger characters named Bailey, who I don't remember the last name of, and then two characters named Poppet and Widget, who are twins. And my personal favorite, like, Margot is my homeboy, but Poppet and Widget are my favorite characters, hands down, and they are very spoilery, so I won't get into why I love them so much until
We'll talk
part
about
two.
that on part two,
Yeah,
because I can't wait to go on the fact that I love Celia, but honestly, my favorite character is Isabel.
So, she deserved better.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, all of our vague speech is just to get you to listen to part two.
Yeah.
That's
just listen to us.
We're delightful. Why wouldn't you want to listen to us? But the book centers around these two characters who are students of magic. That is the entire premise of the book. And they more or less tell you this in the first about 20 pages of the book. They are bonded to a game. They don't know who the other person is.
What
they don't
kind
know
of game?
or what's going on. They don't know how it's going to, expand or what it's going to do to them. They just know that they have to face each other in a game. You find out a lot more later, and it's very interesting, and I think this take on it is fascinating. And personally, I really want Erin to write other books on the other games, because this is not the first one of its kind. And I want to know the history of it. I want her to play in this world that she's created more, so bad.
It is a really good world.
It is. And it's just so good.
So it centers around this game that both of them are playing. Neither of them know who their competition is at first.
One of them figures it out. We won't tell you who.
Not yet. Not until part two.
Part two.
But they're playing this game, and all they're told is that they need to practice. They need to practice, and they need to make their moves. But, as we see, it is really hard to make a move against a person you don't know. And it's really hard to practice when you don't know exactly what you're practicing for. And a big basis of this book, I feel, is basically fighting towards an end goal that you're not 100% sure is there.
I'd argue it's kind of like studying to be a med student. Like...
Where it takes 12 years and you're not really sure if you want to do it by the end of 12 years?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, is that not fitting for the book?
That's actually kind of fitting.
You'll understand so much more, like, as you read the book, especially from Celia's perspective, how accurate that is.
And if you've already read this book, you probably already have guessed everything that we're going to say in part two. Still watch it.
Please listen to us. Please. So, more interesting... We're just trying to we're trying to hype you up for part two, where we just sob over everything for the next 5 years.
By the by, this book is a love story, but I like it because it's really not written as a love story. Not at first. At first, you're sitting down, you're going, oh, I'm writing about a competition, and there are hints that it's going to turn into a love story, but honestly... You're never sure of where it's going.
The fact that they fall in love is not the main goal of the story. It is, but it isn't. The main goal of the story is everybody else. It's the journey, not the destination. but not in an aggravating way. Not in, oh, she's just, a stupid klutz who has a job and she's doing her best in life. No, Celia is hardworking. She's serious. She's very kind of in charge of herself and her emotions. She's independent, and she has a wonderful, wonderful head on her shoulders. And she thinks amazing.
Marco, on the other hand, idiot, stupid.
He really is
stupid.
I'm gonna personally slam dunk Marco in the trash can, but I love that boy to death. But Marco is the more emotional one, and it's very interesting because as the book progresses between the two, you see Marco lash out often, and that's probably the most interesting is how he tries to fix it, because that doesn't end well, ever.
No. He tries to fix it. It's also interesting in looking at their backgrounds of how differently they handle things, and how sometimes you feel like the way Marco handles things is the way Celia should, just because of how she was raised, who she was raised by.
You would think that one, like, as I stated earlier, it's two different schools of magic. And you would think that if they swapped, maybe the other student would learn better from the other teacher. Not so. Also, really important, you follow them through their childhood.
Yeah, you follow them from basically the time that they get chosen to be part of this tournament.
Which is around
Celia a little bit earlier, but
6.
that's because there's more of a need to introduce her than there is for Marco. And that's actually backstory-wise, is there's a reason for that.
I will throw this out here, right now. Celia's mom committed suicide. And that is something mentioned in the first 2 pages of the book. And it is brought up, I think, a total of 2 more times.
It's brought up at the very end.
It's brought up at the very end. And I think somewhere in the middle when she's yelling.
Probably. It's brought up very rarely, and it's brought up for a very good reason. It normally has to do with either why Celia doesn't want to do something or why Celia does want to do something.
And it's never used as a expressive guilt trip, like, oh, my mom offed herself, so now I'm gonna go be a sad sack. No, it's usually I am explaining why I am the way I am and my upbringing, and this is why I became the person I became, is because this is my backstory, this is my childhood, this was my upbringing. And I feel like that's kind of important to mention, because I know some people are very sensitive to that, and I wanted you to be aware.
Yeah, there's also not a lot of death in this book, but there's enough death, and it's death that's warranted for the story's sake, but not warranted in, like, life-wise.
There are 2 major character deaths that are towards about halfway, 3/4 through the book. They're not graphic at all, and the way the characters died are glossed over. But the emotional impact is kind of dug into a little bit of the characters that were attached. But other than that, I think that's as far as, like, the important things go, because we want people to be aware, because I know that we all have some things that we're very sensitive to.
Oh, yeah. Very beginning of the book, and honestly throughout the book, but especially very beginning, abuse.
Yes, there is, I would say implied emotional, because he doesn't, okay, there is physical abuse from father-daughter physical abuse.
And there's father-daughter emotional abuse.
Emotional abuse, yes. I'm trying to think of what else. I think that's it.
Yeah, I was like, that's the big 2.
That's it.
That's the big 2 for that. So yeah, this book does deal with some really heavy things. It does it well, though. It doesn't pinpoint on it and just focus on it. It's more of a a reason for a cause.
I'd say driving force. It's not peppered in for flavor. It's like, hey, this thing is kind of important. It's like in American Horror Story, you know how there's always, sexual assault or abuse in some way just for shock value. It's not just for shock value.
No, this is very much a understandable peppering in.
Yeah. It's like, ugh, man, the thing that'll always make me really angry is I hate the Hunger Games more than anything. I especially hate the last book where, was it Rue? No, not Rue. Rue dies in the first book.
Yeah.
Her little sister dies for no reason.
Oh,
no
Prim.
fucking reason whatsoever.
I never read these books.
Don't. Never do. Never read the Hunger Games. They're shit. They're really bad. Oh, man, that's a different episode entirely. Why didn't I rant about that in our We Hate These Books?
I don't know.
How did I forget? Oh, I blocked it out. I hate them so much. But the character deaths aren't for no reason. They're not just 'cause. They come about in a natural way, in a way that makes sense, and that's one of the things that I admire so much about this book.
Yeah, because it's easy to kill off a character. It's harder to kill off a character and make it a thing in the story that has to happen.
Yeah, like, oh man, I feel like killing off this character for no good reason.
And there is an explained and a very good reason for why they died. That we'll get to, but it's well played. And the stakes are, in fact, raised a lot.
That is true. I'm going to throw a shout out to one of my favorite characters and not explain why. Tsukiko, who is a very good character, a very interesting character. And I think she's the... So, in the... I almost said in the show. Wow.
I wish it was a show.
So fun fact, Cassie. It's supposed to be a movie.
Well, I'm going to have to buy a black and white dress, get a red scarf, and go see this movie.
Of course, we should also get our tattoos.
Yeah, we do need to get tattoos.
Yeah, well, do you want to explain that to our lovely audience?
Nah, I don't like them well enough.
Damn, that was cold! Anyway, yeah, just stay tuned to our Twitters for that. That'll be fun. But yeah, no, this is actually supposed to be a movie. It's been bouncing around in production since we've read the book, actually. I've kept tabs on it.
It's fine.
So it's that and Five Nights at Freddy's. That actually, I know I'm trash. Anyway, so...
You're talking about Tsukiko.
Tsukiko is a contortionist, and she's the only contortionist in the Night Circus.
Yes. Because she is good enough to be the only one.
Because, Sean, do you want to pronounce his name? Because I feel like I'm going to butcher it. Lefebvre?
Lefebvre.
Lefebvre.
At least that is what me, as a person who's read French a lot, would pronounce it as.
I pronounced it in my head as Lefebvre.
I would only say Lefebvre because it's F-E.
Yeah.
And normally E's in French are like E's.
I would like the record to show that neither Cassie nor I are fluent in French.
I'm close.
Cassie's the only one that actively tries. I gave up after high school. So that's fun.
I am not a quitter.
But the proprietor and the person who orchestrated the Night Circus in the first place, or at least, threw money at it, his name is Chandrish. At least that's how I would just be referring to him as. Chandrish, Tara Laney, Ethan, and Tante.
Tante. Padva?
Padva.
Yes. Tante Padva. Aunt Padva. Gotta love her.
She is the best. She is a fashionable old lady. I wish she was real so she would adopt me and take care of my college student loans.
I don't even want her to give me money. I just want her to make me look pretty.
Honestly, that's a big feeling. That's a mood. That's a deep. That's something I feel in my soul. But yeah, so that's our very, very rough generalization.
I think you were starting with something and you left it.
I sure did.
Yeah. So those people are the people who run the circus, at least on a technical basis. But as we learn, and this is gonna spoil a little bit, but it also kind of doesn't. The real driving force to the circus is Celia and Marco.
Yes.
They are the life and the fire within the circus that keeps it going.
I see what you did there.
Yeah.
Read the book, kids.
Kids. So,
please read the book.
I'm going to leave you guys with a small snippet. And by small snippet, I'm going to read the back of the book. Because it's the best way to get to know what a book's supposed to be about.
We probably should have started with that. But, oh well!
We're rusty kids. I've been dying and...
We've both been dying.
Yeah.
We'll get back in there. Please don't leave us.
Plus, I've read like 2 other books since reading this book, so I'm a little rusty with this book.
Oh, I'm in the middle of reading The Alienist by right now, so...
So, without further ado, the circus arrives without warning. No announcements precede it. It is simply there when yesterday it was not. Within the black and white striped canvas tents is an utterly unique experience full of breathtaking amazements. It is called Le Cirque de Rêve, and it is only open at night. But behind the scenes, a fierce competition is underway, a duel between 2 young magicians, Celia and Marco, who have been trained since childhood expressly for this purpose by their mercurial instructors. That's a hard word. Unbeknownst to them both, this is a game in which only one of them can be left standing. Amidst the high stakes, Celia and Marco soon tumble headfirst into love, setting off a domino effect of dangerous consequences and leaving the lives of everyone from the performers to the patrons hanging in the balance.
And scene.
In scene. It's, high stakes, as I said earlier. It's, I forgot that it mentioned love on the back cover just because when you start this book, it so doesn't read like a love story.
It really doesn't.
And trust me, I just read a romance novel.
Was it the dragon one?
Yes, it was the dragon one. It was really good. I read it in 3 nights.
Oh my god. At any rate, stay tuned for part 2 where we're going to spoil every little thing about this book for forever and ever and ever because we love it so much and there's actually a lot for us to, dissect for it. However, these episodes will be spaced out. We're going to be updating every other week, so you have plenty of time to read the book before you listen to us ramble and get really in-depth with it. Thank you so much for sticking with us and
please
listening.
bear with us as we try to figure out how exactly we're going to set up the first podcast of each book. We haven't quite figured out the flow of things and how we want to talk about things yet, but we're getting back into the groove. It's been a while.
That is true. Also, please tweet at us for books that you think we might like. We're going to do this as a monthly basis. So please tweet at us. Please be like, hey, we think you should read this book because we'll take a look. I promise you, we will look at it and we will legitimately take it into consideration. We just ask that no series right off the bat. We only have, I think, the next 2 months lined up for books that we want to do. But other than that, keep us updated. We'll do our best to keep you updated.
We will. We have a Twitter now.
We sure do.
Do I write on it? No.
I do the writing for the Twitter because I'm a nerd.
Yeah, well, that's just because I'm tired and...
Cassie does the Instagram mostly, though.
I do. I really love Instagram.
I update that, once-ish.
I really need to post something
twice.
new on Instagram, but I've been too busy reading a D&D manual to, do it.
That's valid. At any rate... Thanks so much for listening.
And please stay tuned for the second episode of the Night Circus.
Bye-bye!